Hello everyone, I am Thirteene, and today we're going to be continuing this streak of terrible decks full of jank. But it's pretty much what I do, so if you're looking for something else, I'm guessing you could go elsewhere. There's a lot of good content on the internet, and that's just kind of not what I'm doing. So today we're going to be playing Doubling Walkers. So this deck was a little fringe when Shadows over Innistrad came out. And everyone was kind of toying around with the idea of new Tamiya with Doubling Season. So for those of you unaware, Doubling Season is a Commander All-Star. If an effect would put one or more tokens into play under your control, you double them. And if an effect would put one or more counters on a permanent you control, double them. And notice I did say Commander. 5 mana is a lot, but we're still going to try to abuse that. And one of the ways that we're going to abuse this is with Ensnaring Bridge. But coming back to the first concept, Doubling Season says one or more counters. It doesn't specify what kind, and it's for any permanent you control. So Doubling Season, Planeswalkers, Loyalty, Instant Ultimates. That's not all Planeswalkers, and so we do have a kind of small list of what we're playing with here. But essentially, if we can survive up until we have 5 mana, we slam a Doubling Season, and then get to untap and play again, we basically are just going to win the game on the spot because of the power of a Planeswalker ultimating is essentially like when new walkers come out, the rule of thumb to judge them is, does the ultimate win the game? Can it protect itself? And does it get value every turn regardless of if it's doing something or not? And so if any of the, like especially if the third one, but if those 3 statements are true, it's going to be a good Planeswalker. And in Doubling Season, we just get to roid the crap out of that. So again, Ensnaring Bridge, going to make it so that creatures can't attack us or our Planeswalkers. And we're just going to be jamming jank. So the 3 Planeswalkers of choice here are going to be Tamiyo, Jace, and Teferi. Now, looking at this page, I do want to mention I tried to change my screen resolution. I was under the impression that it was coming out at 480 instead of 720p, so I blew it up. The Scryfall images I'm getting are still the same size, which makes this a little difficult to read. But I'll quickly just go over these. Tamiyo says, choose up to 2 target creatures. They don't need to be your own until your next turn. If they deal damage, I draw a card. And her -2 is tap up to 2 target non-land permanents. They don't untap during their controller's untap step. And her -7 is draw 3 cards. You get an emblem that says you may cast cards from your hand as though they don't have a mana cost. So her ultimate is Omniscience as well as draw 3 cards. So if she comes down on turn 4, we really need to buy some time. We can frost some permanents, make it so that we're taking less damage or our opponent's just getting a little tripped up. Her +1 can target our opponent's creatures. So if they deal damage, especially if they just go to kill Tamiyo, we get to draw cards to help replace her. Jace Cunning Castaway is actually super fun in this deck. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you can draw a card and then discard. We don't really have creatures, so that's kind of irrelevant. But his -2 is create a 2/2 blue illusion. When it's the target of spell or ability, sacrifice it. But most importantly, for 3 mana, he comes in with 3 loyalty. His -5 is create 2 copies of Jace Cunning Castaway, Sexy Jace. And they're not legendary. So, if we have Doubling Season out and then we slam Jace Cunning Castaway, we don't win that turn, but we get infinite copies of Jace Cunning Castaway and infinite copies of Illusions. So, this is our infinite engine here. And then Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, as I'm sure most of you are aware, his +1 is draw, untap 2 at the next end step. His -3 is tuck something, 2 cards down from the library. And his -8, which you can actually trigger the turn he comes in with Doubling Season, is you get an emblem whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent. So Teferi can just come down, cash himself out, get the emblem, we draw a couple of cards, and we can kind of just go to close out the game. Alright, so again, sorry that's a little hard to read. I probably should have just pulled up the actual cards here. Then we also have Noble Hierarch, Arbor Elf, and Utopia Sprawl to help us with our mana base here and help ramp up. We also have a couple of Birds of Paradise, Utopia Sprawl, and Arbor Elf. If they come down correctly in the first 2 turns, you have 4 mana on turn 2. And that is our deck. So we have 4 board clears. We have couple of ensnaring bridges. Basically, we're just trying to stall out until we can actually get a real game of Magic. Alright, so first pairing's here. Wow, that is way over. Yeah, that can't be right. I'm going to try to resize some things really quick here. This new resolution's kind of messing with what I have available, so... Yeah, that's not much better. Alright, as far as our hand, we have 1 mana, a Birds of Paradise. We'd need another mana, but we have essentially 2 Path to Exiles. We can go ahead and keep that. Oh, I know what it is. Derp to derp. Alright, opponent is on mono red. Sorry, opponent, you're all good. I just need to struggle for a second here. Right, monitor. I'm going to give our opponent the ability to cash out the Firebrand here. We don't necessarily need our bird, but we do want to run it out. You can see how much I had to blow out the chat there in order to get that to work. Yep, bird down. And I might need to play with that a little bit after the stream's over, or at least between matches. I will probably... I kind of want to path that, but next turn the Ensnaring Bridge is coming down, and an opponent needs to have some type of artifact removal. They're missing a land drop, so I don't want to give them the out to get one if they're trying to play 2 drops. And they're getting a weird amount of reach out of this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get blue here. I'm not going to put Blood Moon out of the realm of possibility for our opponent, so this Flooded Strand's probably going to be grabbing a Plains. But we are seeing a lot of the cards that we want to here. We actually do care about our Plains more than our islands, but let's see if we can lock our opponent under the Ensnaring Bridge. And we need a land pretty badly. There we go. There's our Supreme Verdict. They're going to be able to sacrifice the Mog Fanatic. Everything else goes splat. We're still under a significant clock, though, given the fact that our opponent hasn't had anything more than 1 mana. Alright, and another path is pretty painful. So we are 2 bolts away from dying here. Opponent is likely on Goblin Grenade. I also want to set a stop in their turn in case they have a Rabble Master. And unfortunately, we're going to be taking the beats from this Bushwhacker. Alright, so Day of Judgment's probably the best card we can run out here. We just really need to draw another land. If we get another land, we can slam Tamiyo with the Path to Exile or the Doubling Season. Yep, alright, that was painful. So, we want Shalai's for sure. We can probably take out a non-zero amount of Doubling Seasons. If we land Planeswalkers, we'll be in a pretty good spot. I'm going to take the opportunity to try to resize my window here. Come on, OBS, play nice. Okay. That's looking like it's going to be about as good as it gets for a little while here. And that just might be it. Unfortunately, like, Dispel, grab Lightning Bolt. Is Goblin Grenade an instant? Goblin Grenade is a sorcery. Okay, I need to see how that sized up on the new resolution. So there might be an argument for negate. I think we just want to ramp as fast as possible, though. 8-whack feels like a really bad matchup. We're trying to slow this down as much as possible. I think it's fine without the negates. That might just be boarding too hard. And anything we draw here is gas. We have a little bit of interaction. We're just trying to draw out the game as much as possible, and 8-whack just wants to win as fast as possible, so we either have to empty our hand into a quick Ensnaring Bridge hand, or we have to basically just lose. We're currently down 1 in the match, and Utopia Sprawl is going to be on green. Blue, just in case we draw Jace. Yep, Foundry Street Denizen gets bigger as you cast more red creatures. It is worth noting our only planes is in our hand, so this was probably a mistake. I know I'm going to be pathing this Foundry Street Denizen, but I want them to try to commit into a large attack here. Kind of want to see what Goblin Guide wants to give us first, though. If it's something that's going to be really good, like an Ensnaring Bridge, might just have to leave it on top. Yeah, Shalai's pretty good. Do I want to take 3 here, go to 14? No. So that was a mistake. I should have just ran out the planes. Go get our last forest. And put down Shalai. So at the very least, Shalai is going to make it so that they have to bolt her. The opponent's coming out hard. And the... Alright. So currently on the hook for 5, 8, 10 damage. These Goblin Gods are also making Ensnaring Bridges worse. Looking pretty dead, though. So funny enough, I have to do something about that Fanatical Firebrand if he doesn't attack with it. That was a very good 8-whack start, though. On turn 3, swinging for 10, and that's just lethal. Actually... yeah. That is like the most insane 8-whack start I think I've ever seen. Alright, well, that was bad beats. Super bad beats. Go ahead and get into our next one. We lost to 8-whack's Nuttiest Draw. We will take the play. And this is looking a little bit more our speed. So go ahead and keep this. I want to fetch blue here for Jace in case we end up going that route. So we're going to start off on a breeding pool. And put out our bird. Alright, Cinderglade pretty much means Titan. Or budget Ponza. And I think this is putting me on Jace here just so I can get a little bit of a clock out. It may have been correct to have Birds of Paradise there just so that we could ramp up into Tameo, but... opponent's on Explore. Search for Tomorrow, definitely Titan. Alright, so I'm going to make it so that Jace can loot here. I really want to find a land for turn. Also, finding a doubling season is going to make it so that we can actually close out this game before they combo. And I'm good to get rid of Bridge here. We don't need more than one. We want green. Birds, we're floating in extra mana, but it's fine. We've got Path up. They're going to have to do some pretty good stuff to get anything threatening out this turn. Wow, hard casting another Search for Tomorrow. So they've got one suspended coming down next turn, one for this turn. Unfortunately, when you're playing against Titan, 18 is a very relevant life total. If you're above 18, then they have to get one more mountain. I'm a little tempted to path the birds here. That's not very productive. If I path the illusion, it's just going to kill it. Alright, so looting with Jace again. Redundant Tameo doesn't do anything. Ooh, that Wrath is looking pretty ugly too. Alright, so Primeval Titan can come down next turn. This is the Valakut version, so they shouldn't have a way to give it haste. So Tameo can come down. And just plus on my birds. They don't do anything, but we have Path up if they bring down their Titan. Alright, so we're probably dead here. Sacrifice any number of lands and you can put that many lands into the battlefield tapped. So they're going to go get Valakut and a couple of mountains. I know some people are really good with Valakut math, but I've never ran the deck, so I kind of have to do it as I see it. They ended up sacrificing 4, 5, 6, 7 lands, so 3 times 4 is 12. They might be one shy and then play a land for turn and kill us. Oh, they only got one Valakut. Okay, so all 6 are going to see each other enter. So that's 6 times 3 is 24, I think. No, 18. Yep, that's the 18 damage. Alright, we're dead. Going into sideboard, these negates are looking insanely beautiful. Shalai, to make us hexproof, looks fantastic. Nissa is in here mainly for control matchups, so we can try to scry it into something useful or run her out just super early and start looking for lands. That's probably more relevant than our board clears, but Dispel's not going to snag. Explore, they didn't show us any blue, so I have no reason to expect Growth Spiral out of them. I think that just means that Nissa's coming in. And then probably just keep one of the uncounterable. Oh, whoops, that is a 62 card special. And that is no green mana. Alright, this is probably as good as it's going to get here. So keep this. I'm on board for a third land. And we're just going to ramp ourselves a little bit. We want white. So Oath of Nissa is a 2-of in our list. She helps mana fix our Planeswalkers as well as helps kind of cantrip into something a little bit more useful when it enters. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, reveal a creature, land, or planeswalker, and put it into your hand. The rest go on the bottom in any order. And as long as this is out, our planeswalkers can be cast as though they were any mana color. Alright, so I'm going to cast Oath of Nissa first, just to see if there is something that we want on the top of our deck. Like that Shalai. Shalai can come down next turn, or we can get Noble this turn. We'll have 5 mana for Doubling Season. I think I'm a little more on board for that plan. Shalai is going to be fantastic to actually win this game, but we have multiple turns that we have things to do in the future, and our opponent isn't really doing anything super beneficial at the moment. Plus, it's going to shuffle Shalai back in. Again, our life total kind of does matter here. I don't really want to go to 18, but below 18, but here we are. Ship it on over to opponent. Their deck does run a non-zero number of lightning bolts. I believe it's like 3, maybe 2. Okay, so this is Steve. That's his nickname. They can fog a combat step with him and then tutor for a basic land. I'm going to have 4 mana regardless. Is there any reason to run out Doubling Season here? I believe if we draw something, we could just win, so that might be for the best. Go ahead and just grab our basic island. Their list should not be running Blood Moon because they have to use Valakut to win the game. They actually really hate Blood Moon. They also have a lot of sideboard hate for enchantments because of Blood Moon, so that's going to weaken our strategy, but if they have it, they have it. Opponent's going to sack Steve here to go get a land, cast the Search for Tomorrow on their upkeep, play a land for turn. That should put them at 5 mana. If they have Scape Shift in hand, that only gives us 1 turn. Possibly should have just kept that Shalai and played a little behind. It was strong enough hate that we wouldn't die. I also didn't sacrifice the Steve here. So hard casting, another search for tomorrow. They must be missing their land drops, which is bad for us in case they actually have like a lot of action in hand. Alright, they did have the Valakut. So if you control at least 5 other mountains, they're currently at 2, essentially 3, virtual 3. Scape Shift will get them 5 lands. Alright, so Summoner's Pact is going to go get their Primeval Titan. Possibly an Azusa, but more likely a Primeval Titan. It seems like weird sequencing, though, because they won't be able to cast it this turn. So next turn they'll have to pay the upkeep cost. Yep, so they got Primeval Titan. When Primeval Titan enters or attacks, they get to search for two lands, not basics, but lands, and put them into the battlefield tapped. So that lets them ramp up or go get 2 more Valakuts and then play a land for turn, hit for, in this case, 9. Alright, and so we are on Garruk here. Okay, so opponent scooped here, and he wasn't even remotely dead. We have Overrun, and can create a 3/3 beast. Not sure what to make of that. That was an early scoop, but we'll go ahead. Oh crap, I ran back the 62 card special. So amazing at this game. This is looking pretty decent, though. Turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Ensnaring Bridge, or Oath of Nissa into hopefully another Mana Dork. Yeah, so opponent was aware of the way that Doubling Season worked with Planeswalkers, but I don't think he bothered to read our Planeswalker. He just knew that one was going to be bad for them. I'm actually going to go for a Forest here. We're going to have to fetch next turn and go to 18 anyway, but Oath of Nissa is going to fix it for all of our Planeswalkers, so... Yep, that's fine. Okay, so Oath of Nissa, look at top 3. I'll just take the Flooded Strand. Any order. Windswept. Probably should have just showed the Flooded Strand since they already knew about it, but that's fine. We want green and white. Gonna Oath of Nissa again. They are legendary, but they're cantripping and fixing our mana for us. Seeing that Doubling Season goes a little disappointing, but more mana. Ship it back. Path to Exile is pretty bad removal against their deck. They can just go get a mountain and a lot of times lightning bolt you back by hitting their land drop. Alright, so... Planeswalkers again can be any color. I'm just going to try to keep my life total a little high. See what's on top of our deck. So I want Shalai to be drawn, and then I'll put Birds of Paradise into play. So this will go on top. This will go on top. Alright, Kalani Heart Expedition. Landfall gets a counter. When you have 3 counters on it, you get to search for 2 basic lands and put them into play tapped. So especially with fetch lands, you can enable this pretty quickly. Then the question is, do I actually want to put the birds into play? Because birds will let me cast a fairy next turn, so that's probably the case. We will put Birds of Paradise into play. Going to grab another forest here. And Shalai. So our opponent's going to have to kill Shalai before they can kill us, which basically takes Scape Shift off the table as a win condition. Primeval Titan's still going to be really good, but it at least slows down how we're going to die. Alright, so Windswept here means that they're going to be turning on the Valakut. And Breeding Pool. So that's 4 untapped. That'd be 4 mana. Ensnaring Bridge won't do anything. We basically have 2 turns here before that Valakut is active. If I scry here, I might be able to scry into a doubling season, and then Teferi becomes very lethal very quickly. If I go up to 6 loyalty, I can swing for 10, but I don't believe that's going to do a whole lot. I think I really just want to get Teferi down here, and that might be Liquid Nissa at what's on top. Yeah, we can just go ahead and put Arbor Elf into play. Get our beats in with Shalai. So opponent's going to be able to crack the Heart Expedition to kill Shalai here, which is what's really making me uneasy about doing this. Yep, so that's going to go get 2 basics. Both those basics are going to see each other enter, so they get 2 triggers. They can ping 6 damage at something. So we pretty much have to Teferi here and hope that we get a negate. I'm kind of considering pathing here, but it just doesn't feel worthwhile. Hey, look at that. Look how smart and thin we are. Alright, so I'm going to leave up the negate, and do I need to leave up path? So if they play a Primeval Titan, I don't want to go to 12. Okay, so need to make sure to untap the island. And sure, why not? The Temple Garden. So then this way, if they go for Scape Shift, we have it covered. If they go for Prime Time, we kind of have it covered. If they just drop a land and kill Nissa and have double Scape Shift, we are super effed. It's kind of the problem with playing dirtly mid-range things in a very fast, quick, combo-y format, but we will see what opponent's up to. Unfortunately, we don't have any good payoffs if we see a doubling season here, so we can't just GM doubling season and then hope to win. This should tell us how confident they're feeling with where they're going, though. There was a reason they're tanking on their lands, and it's because they're trying to figure out if they can kill us, which they believe they can. So that means if prime time comes down, we're going to be taking 6. Alright, well there's doubling season, so start with Teferi. Utopia Sprawl is actually going to net us a decent amount of mana here. There's doubling season. This is going to check for Jace. We can go ahead and put Noble in. Then, unfortunately, that's all we've got so far. So move to Instep, untap the Utopia Sprawl land. Lightning Bolt at us. Okay, that's fine. Alright, Search for Tomorrow is going to be 3 more damage. Land for Turn is going to be 3 more damage. And then we can counter any non-creature. But if this is a Primeval Titan, it's just game. Interesting. Alright. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Alright, so Tamiyo comes down. Ultimates. So draw 3 cards. We can cast. You may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. So cast with Tamiyo's Emblem. Ultimate. Jace gets to go infinite. We get infinite 2/2s. Then we had another doubling season here. I don't really think it's relevant. We can put both of these on the bottom. We're essentially looking for something along the lines of a Teferi here to draw with Teferi, which we have no way to filter anymore. So like a Crater Hoof would be fantastic. We can overrun here. I don't really think it does anything worthwhile enough. And we're still really leaning on the back of this negate. So I'm actually just going to create a couple more tokens just to make sure that we have next turn covered. And hope that they're not on Primeval Titan or basically 2 ramp spells. Opponent definitely thinks they have something, though. They scoop to Garruk a turn, like a couple turns too early. Yeah. Alright, so opponent had enough. So snagged one against Valakut Titan. So currently 1-1. That Garruk, I know people pronounce him different ways, is kind of an awkward draw. He really helps us ramp into being able to do multiple things a turn, and he gives us a way to get trample, but he could probably be better off as something else. Unfortunately, the Planeswalkers that ultimate with Doubling Season and Bant are basically the ones that we have here. So Tamiyo allows us to cast things for free. Jace is infinite, but requires a turn before he can blow up. And Teferi just has to cash out, and then you need another way to draw cards. And we have to run a lot of enablers to make this strategy work. Alright, we have turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Jace and or, I guess or, not and, Ensnaring Bridge. That's fine. We also have a little bit to draw into. We technically have the infinite combo here. And we're playing against Merfolk. So unfortunately, Island Walk is going to hurt us pretty badly here. Alright, so that Utopia Sprawl is like right on point. So gonna get a Temple Garden, untapped, pay green, Utopia Sprawl. We want a Utopia Sprawl on blue. So then that means that we don't necessarily have to play our breeding pool out so that they have Island Walk and yeah, so they're not going to have Island Walk. I actually think I kind of want to... No, Ensnaring Bridge is going to be better. I was trying to figure it out, but we need to get Doubling Season out first before we play Jace. Otherwise, we're kind of just falling behind for no reason. We're going to have to draw another win condition. I shouldn't have tanked on that hard. Having these two have to come out in the order of Doubling Season into Jace, and just playing Jace, despite being able to block here, isn't going to be valuable enough. Plus, they could always Spreading Seas and just kill Jace and put a Lord into play off the Vial, so... We're actually just attack with the Mutavault. Okay, so we do have 5 mana for next turn. I think I'm just on Doubling Season. We're probably going to be taking like 7 on the backswing. Trickster. Yep. Alright, well, joke's on you, opponent, because now we are just going to empty our hand and you won't be able to attack. Well, I guess you can get in for 2, but that means no lords. So, go ahead and give them the Island Walk. Don't want to pay the life. Sequencing here is a little weird, but it doesn't really need anything to be pulled off, so just generate a lot of mana. Then we'll see if they actually put out a Lord. If they don't, we're going to go infinite next turn. That's fine. Really? Alright, so they're missing their land drops. This is so that they can adapt the Biomancer. I kind of don't care if they loot. In fact, getting that bigger seems quite good for us. I am going to path here, though. So Harbinger of the Tides was an inclusion that some of the lists made a while back when Blue Merfolk was more common. It can return something to its owner's hand, so they did that to try to get around a Ensnaring Bridge. And we'll see if they have Spell Pierce. Okay, they're just on adapt. So they need another Harbinger of the Tides to be able to attack in this turn, and then they're going to get closed out on pretty hard here. Harbinger only hits a tapped creature, so they'd have to do Trickster and Harbinger to get it back to hand. Alright, the second doubling season is cute. How much mana do we actually have? So that's 6, 7, 8, 9? Yeah, I'm playing the other one. Again, if we get Spell Pierced here, that feels bad, but that's fine. You're not attacking it anyway, opponent. You have to have Echoing Truth, and you shouldn't have that main board. So Deprive was a bad version of Counterspell that Merfolk like to run. It allows you to make your next land drop, as well as countering something. Yep, go ahead and go as wide as you want. We have all of our colors, multiple mana sources. Scratch that, we have a ton of mana. Like, a literal ton of it. Oath of Nis is fine. Let's just dig a little deeper. There's a Tameo. So, interestingly enough, this Tameo is going to be mildly awkward in the fact that if we draw multiple... Come on, just use this. If we draw multiple lands, we'll have to allow them to attack. I forgot we put out the other doubling season. She came in with 16 counters on her. Alright, so choose up to 2 creatures until your next turn. If either of those creatures deal combat damage, you draw a card. So I'm going to pick just one of their elemental tokens and the Arbor Elf. Arbor Elf is going to get in. We'll see if they want us to draw 2 cards. Yep, that's fine. So we'll draw a card because of Tameo's token. Go ahead and play our land for turn. Don't care about it. Run out the Arbor Elf. Oh, yeah, we do things without mana. Oh, I can alter again. It's very unique playing with cards like this. Okay, so if we don't draw a land, definitely going to use Tameo's ult again. I actually want to see if they counter this first. Yeah, okay. So there's that. Dispel because they are on a counter build of this. Probably not that great. I can't imagine we want to cut a whole lot here. I don't even think I want the Dispels. We just have enough prison pieces for creature decks that this should be fine. Dispel could just make sure that we land our doubling season. I could maybe see trimming 1. No, we want to win pretty fast. Day of Judgment can get countered, and maybe a Birds of Paradise. That feels right. Arbor Elf into bridge. If they have Echoing Truth, that's significantly worse, but so gonna go Temple Garden here. Again, don't want to get an island until I have to. In last game, I put a lot of Utopia Sprawls on one forest. If our opponent would have Spreading Seized it, it would have just fallen off, so that may have actually been incorrect. Alright, so instead of running out Ensnaring Bridge for the Silver Guild, I can still get in. I think I'm going to try to find another Mana Dork. Tamiyo's pretty tempting too. Unfortunately, have to play a tap island, so opponent can get Forest Walk now, but that's just the current position we're in. It may have also been correct to cut the basic island. Alright, so another Trickster coming in. This Utopia Sprawl should be free. Go ahead and call white. And see if they've got the first counter. Yep, Spell Pierce is fine. So next turn we have Doubling Season, or depending on how much pressure we're under, we're probably going to have to put out the other Ensnaring Bridge. Depends on if they have a Lord or not. They haven't shown us very many Lords. They're trying to play a tempo game plan, as opposed to running the 12 Lord build. Alright, Path is interesting. So I have 4, 5, 6 mana. I think that's putting me on Doubling Season here. Although, yeah, that sequencing is poor because that means that I have to Path now. And I want to get rid of Trickster. Alright, opponent's all in. Definitely glad I made room for the Dispels, considering how hard they went in on the Spell Pierces. Having 3 of them in the sideboard is significantly too much. Yep, that's fine. And we are dead. Do you see some of the awkwardness of having multiple big cards in your deck? Seeing as how hard they went in on the control magic, I kind of want the negates in and can take out a Tamiyo. I don't necessarily think our opponent boarded correctly. They were able to handle us there, but if they didn't have a sufficient clock early enough, they probably would have fallen very far behind. And we can empty this hand, which is apparently the measurement for success these days. So go ahead and hang on to it. Arbor Elf is better than a Noble turn 1, because if you top deck Utopia Sprawl, you have 4 mana as opposed to 3. And opponent is tanking. Apologize for the delay there. Doggo needed some love and attention, so I was giving him some. Opponent decided to keep, so going to be interesting to see what they go for here. I know I've mentioned it before, but older versions of Merfolk were running up to as many as 3 Dismembers, a couple of Vapor Snags, some Spell Pierces. I don't think that they put much creature removal in, although the number of times they've trickstered our Arbor Elf, they're definitely concerned about our mana ramp. Alright, so Dispel's a fun one. Again, I don't want to put out my island until I absolutely have to. So Temple Garden's going to be up for Path. Ew. Alright, well, unfortunately this isn't going to work out that we can have Path and Dispel up, although I'd rather save Dispel for something a little bit more impactful. If they go to adapt this turn, I'm definitely going to eat it. They've shown that they have a weaker hand, and they might be fishing for either another land or just earlier pieces of interaction, potentially counter spells. Wonder if opponent's giving their pupper some attention too. No, I doubt it. They're on Jerkfolk. They're not good people. Just kidding. Like I said, Merfolk was my first deck, and I'd sit down and a lot of people would say, oh, you're running Jerkfolk. Okay. Alright, so I'm kind of okay making this trade, and if they go to adapt it, it's definitely eating a path. So your move, opponent. Hopefully that doesn't give them enough mana that they can play with us, but if we get to slam something here, then all the better. And we don't, but we can get in for 2. Because this is totally how we win games, off of a 2/2 Arbor Elf. And Windswept, in case we have to Dispel, I highly doubt it with what's on the board, but it'll at least give us the opportunity to fetch blue without actually getting blue. Silvergill, revealing a Lord. So opponent is definitely leaving up counter magic. Perfectly okay by me. Not even gonna offer the trade there, like it's just not worth it. That's essentially half of a card. I will be offering this one, though. Because this makes all their creatures better. Yeah, opponent's smart enough to let that go. So I still have blue available off the Noble Hierarch, and the Hierarch can block if need be. I'm going to make a token here. And I need this to stick since we have no other pressure and our life total is getting a little low. So they can kill him here, but I'll be able to eat the Merfolk Master. I feel like I've been playing a lot of Merfolk lately. Oh boy. Alright, that's bad. So they're holding up counter magic too, otherwise Mutavault would have gotten in for more. So I can't block here. This represents at least a little bit of a clock, so I'm going to send the Beast in. This doesn't seem like one of those games, but it's kind of getting close to it. So we're currently taking 6 unblockable. So we're on a 2-turn clock. There may have been some room in this stack to cut some of the fetch lands for either Ghost Quarters or Field of Ruins. Alright, well, moment of truth. Opponent, do you have it? Alright, yeah, we're dead anyway. GG's opponent. Alright, so reset match record. Rocky, buddy, it's okay. You can be quiet. And we are currently 1 and 2. Beat Valakut, lost to Merfolk, and 8-Whack. Feels like a throwback night back to when Summer Bloom was legal and 8-Whack was just a thing. Merfolk was running rampant with Affinity. I don't think I can keep this hand. It's also very leaning towards creature matchups. If we're playing anything other than that, we're just kind of screwed. And this is slow, but we're going to try it. I'm okay to try to find a mana dork. Let's see, I think Misty says the least about what we're doing. But I might need to get that to go to a basic, so breeding pool. Alright, so Hollow One it is. We can see if they fix us into our lower stuff. Get us a couple mana dorks if they Burning Inquiry next turn. They probably won't be Blood Mooning us, so may as well just run out the shocks and not take a shock. Misty can go get an island if need be for Jace for a chump blocker for a turn before we set up Wrath of God. Although that means it's probably going to have to be a Hallowed Fountain or a Temple Garden, so that we can actually Wrath of God if they go nuts. Ooh. Alright, so they're running the Red Praetor. Also means we might have 1 Hollow One in our future, probably not 2. Also might be mono red from what we've seen so far. I'm a little intrigued now. Yep, there's a Hollow One. The menace on this is so annoying. Opponent didn't get in. Alright, so that breeding pool means that we're going to be taking a lot of shock damage here. I think I'm just going to run this out, and then we'll see if we have to get white for the Wrath of God. Gonna pay the life. Blue, blue. 1. There's Jace. We'll get an illusion to block the Hollow One. Make sure Flameblade Adept has to go to Jace if they're concerned about him. Alright, well, opponent's going to be tanking here for a second, so we're going to do a little bit of math here. Not math, history lessons. So, this is good Jace. This here, a lot of people call him Baby Jace, but he's actually Flip Jace because he turns around. And that's because this Jace right here is actually known as Baby Jace. As time went on, this was the good Jace. Baby Jace came out. Flip Jace came out. And that's how we have Jaces. But this guy right here is the one that we're running, and he is leveling called Sexy Jace. Alright, what did opponent do? Opponent's just trying to go to combat? Sending Hollow One at Jace. Does he not want to attack with the Flame Blade? That seems weird. Alright, well, I am going to protect it. So, if opponent's on the red Praetor, that means their Ensnaring Bridges are probably going to go pretty far. And hard-casting Simian Spirit Guide. What the heck is going on over there? Alright, so plus for no value. I don't know what our opponent's doing. It seems like the worst that's going to happen is potentially a 4/4 Hasty coming at us. So, you know, just any day with Glorybringer. I'm going to shock myself again. It's painful, but seems necessary. And I'm just going to cash out this 3-for-1 while I have it. Depending on what happens next turn, we can Teferi. It was really weird that our opponent didn't attack in with the Menace Flameblade Adept. I wonder if they forgot it had Menace. I assume that would just be picking off Jace and they'd send Hollow One at us to get rid of our illusion. Electro Dominance for 1. Alright, so they're on the living end. And they all have haste, which is going to be 7, 8 damage. They are going to respect Jace, so that's 10. I was horribly miscounting before. Alright, so need another board clear and Ensnaring Bridge, and didn't get it. Fair enough. Alright, so walked right into the living end. This means Rest in Peace is coming in. Dispel looks like their only way to cast Living End is instant speed. That probably means that we're going to drop a couple of Mana Dorks. Probably a doubling season. I think we're just going to shut them down and they won't be able to interact. They probably have a Braids for Ensnaring Bridge, so that's something to keep in mind. Garuk can come out. Garruk, I still don't know what to call him. Path to Exile is permanent answers. We can trim an Oath of Nissa just because it's not super impactful and maybe a Birds. That looks fine enough for me. We have Noble, Wrath, none of the sideboard hate, but a little bit of ramp and some interaction. Currently 0-1 versus Mono Red Living End. So this is the Praetor that they were working with. Really good with Living End, because that means all of your creatures come in with haste, and all of your opponent's blockers are going to come in without haste. So it's a very aggressive deck. And we actually have all of our colors here, so I'm going to be a little conservative with my life total. I assume if we get one shot, we get one shot. This deck isn't really able to deal with that on that level. We just want to play Planeswalkers and ramp into them. For such a small dog, you make a lot of noise. Alright, looks like it might be a turn 2 Living End. Or turn 1? That is such odd sequencing. Alright, there's a Hollow One. So I'm kind of wanting the Wrath of God in case they Living End, but definitely going to be pathing Hollow One as a... Sorry, I want the Wrath of God in case they Living End for these three, but I think right now Path is pointed at this Hollow One because it's actually got permanent stats on it and an immediate threat. Deadshot Minotaur. Okay, so it hits a flyer when it comes in. Yep, keep cycling away that draft shaft. There's the path. Feel free to go get another mountain. And still whiffing on getting any action. Alright, so hopefully they... we're going to have a turn for this, so that's fine. Noble can't block, may as well get in. So if they have Faithless Looting, discard the Praetor into Electro Dominance, we're dead, but that's about it. So they've got to have those 3 cards exactly in hand. I'm going to fetch here. I really don't want to draw another land. Minimal thinning, but you have to take outs when you get them. And using Teferi to draw. If we see a rip, it's basically game over. But no rip. Show me what you got, opponent. Alright, committing more to the board means that they're less inclined or less capable of going for the Electro Dominance here. And opponent is scared of Teferi, so they're going to try to chip him down a bit. Alright, yet another mana dork. I'm kind of inclined to clear the board here. I have to imagine they're on Burning Inquiry, though, and that could fix our hand. So I'm going to run out another Noble, just so I can double block if they happen to discard 2 cards. But seeing a lot of land and not a lot of gas. Also, for those of you unaware, they did errata Teferi. It used to be you had to untap 2 lands, so you would also have to untap your opponent's lands. Now it's just up to 2 lands. Alright, so they have to have the other 2 Street Wraiths or an Is It Charm for that to matter. Alright, Tamiyo's at least some action. Dispel is quite good here, so Tamiyo's coming down. If you two deal damage, I draw cards. Howard Fountain tapped seems fine. I'm not doing anything else, and then Teferi's going to untap 2 more. I also could have targeted one of my nobles and one of their creatures, but it's fine. I don't mind keeping the Arbor Elf in hand in case something happens to the board and I have to run out of chump blocker for a turn. Ooh, Cathartic Reunion. Alright. Discarding the Electro Dominant, so they may have given up on that plan or seen a redundant one. This is where Negate would probably be better. I just assume that they're on Living End Electro Dominance Hollow one, like I probably wasn't going to be countering a Burning Inquiry or anything along those lines. Alright, both going at Teferi. So I'm going to keep him alive if possible. And I should be able to draw 2 cards off of this. If they drew another Street Wraith, he's down, though. Yep. Alright, goodbye, Teferi. You tried. There's a bridge, which means I can empty my hand. These guys will still be able to attack in for 1, though, and that's kind of frustrating. Alright, so first things first. Wrath of God. So, plus no targets. And I can't even put out Ensnaring Bridge this turn because if they have a Braid and Living End Dominance, I just lose. So I've got to be able to hold up the Dispel for the Electro Dominance. But I can run out more of my hand. I probably could have tapped better so green-blue was up, but... what can you do? About to alt Tameo the hard way. So free Utopia Sprawl, always good. And may as well go for white. It's our least represented color. May as well hit our Arbor Elf. I doubt he's going to need it, but... Alright, so what is opponent even looking for here? They've got to have... Smash the Smithereens is the only artifact hate I think they can have in mono red. Okay, so I have to counter that. Hopefully they don't have a second one. And they've got the guttural response. Alright. So creatures come in. We get back a lot of our mana dorks. They don't have any way to attack in and we're holding a Supreme Verdict. Yeah, and that was opponent's whole load. All right, cashing out Tameo. Basically just trying to empty my hand here. Second bridge, so you've got to have Shatterstorm. Supreme Verdict because I'm kind of a D-bag. And Path to Exile in case you get a threat. Yep. Alright, Negate's looking more interesting. Again, we're just going to lock them out. The doubling season is so tempting, but Rest in Peace, Dispel stops their game plan. Bridge stops their game plan. Might be interesting to have one Tameo out. Maybe some of the board clears lose value. I could possibly see cutting just a Jace here. We're going a little light on threats, but we're just going to lock them down and not care what they're doing. So maybe just some of that. I kind of like one Oath of Nissa just because it helps fix. And we have some insane mana here. Alright, so the way this deck works, I'm thinking I want to grab a Breeding Pool and put the Utopia Sprawl on white. Just because Supreme Verdict is double white. Could potentially also just want to put it on green here. No, blue also fixes the negate. I think we need to be on blue just because of the state of our current hand. And hopefully we see another land, because that just means all the stuff is coming out. Otherwise it's just some of the stuff. So if I do green here, I can run out both Arbor Elves. But if they have Living End, they're just going to run Living End. I think that's just what we have to do. I don't like it. I really don't like it, but this is next turn doubling season, so I think I have to ignore my opponent and hope they're not on Living End just to get rid of 3 Arbor Elves. There's the Cathartic, getting rid of one of their counter spells. Cycling more and more creatures. Alright, and there's blue. And I'm actually just going to go crack this now. I'd really like to make it so that they can't do something when I crack the land later, so... And I want Breeding Pool in case I need to be able to untap it for blue mana to do multiple spells. Arbor Elf can untap this, hidden text. Alright, so if they don't go for it this turn, then we're going to have multiple levels of protection until we get a Planeswalker. Them discarding this makes me think they have another one in hand. Targeting Arbor Elf. Alright. Oh, I didn't think through that. I had to float the mana. Okay, if we lose this, that's 100% my fault. They still probably had the counterspell, but I could have negated the living end in case... Yeah, that works. Yeah, my head's not in the right space at the moment. I should have been able to read that. Hard casting the Ingot Chewer. Lovely. Alright, so taking 13 here, which means I have to see a Jace or potentially a Tamiyo. And then I also have to make sure that Electro Dominance can't get through. Yeah. Alright, that was... Both of those losses were on me. So not in the right headspace at the moment. Alright, so 1-3. Still on par for what I'd expect from this deck. A lot of the videos I'm trying to make are just throwing money away on Magic Online, playing funsy decks. I could have at least had the first counterspell there. I should have known they had Ingot Chewer, but... We could have also mulliganed more aggressively for Rip. That would have just been easy mode. We did take out a lot of our threat density sideboarding for game 3, so top decking a lethal Planeswalker would have been significantly harder since we had taken like 3 or 4 of them out and we're only running Teferi, Tamiyos, Jaces. We have 6 finishers and we took like 3 of them out. Oh well, go on to the 1-3 bracket, see what we can do here. Noble, Oath, Utopia Sprawl, sign me up. And looks like it might be Burn. Gonna get Force just in case. Because it's either Blood Moon or Burn. Both very possible. Oh, don't tell me it's Electro Dominance again. Who did we just play? I don't even know how to check. Alright, well, head in this one. So, Utopia Sprawl. Oh, they're F6. So, let's put it on white, given the fact that we have Wrath of God. Go ahead and cast Oath of Nissa, see what we get. That was bad sequencing, should have Oath first. Misty can potentially grab us our island if it's a Blood Moon here. So any order, run that out, expecting to get Blood Mooned. Red opponent F6 with 2 mana up screams that they're going to be Blood Mooning us. The fact that they didn't do anything here means they might have just been intending to slam a Blood Moon and hoping it was good enough. So 3, 4, 5. We'll see if they have Enchantment Hate. Nope, nope, nope. Wrong card. Doubling season. There we go. Show me what you got. Otherwise, we're jamming Tamiyo next turn. Yep. All right. So they were definitely on the Blood Moon plan. They saw what we were doing, so they were good. Shalai might get a little bit of value here, and Snaring Bridges are probably going to lose some, although if they're on the Rabble Master plan, they still do hold some value. Grook being able to untap our basics is great, but being double costed is bad. I'm assuming he probably just shouldn't be in the deck in the first place. As always, Nissa comes in whenever we expect to have a grindy long game to go on. Negate can snag any of their Planeswalkers or Blood Moons. It's also possible that they are on something like red-black or red-white and they just missed a color, but the fact that they're on all basics makes me scream it's free win red. Dampening Sphere doesn't really get much of a consideration. They're going to have Enchantment Hate, most likely sideboard. Mono Red doesn't have a way to deal with it, but they're probably going to try. So if they are multicolored, they're probably bringing in Destructive Revelries or potentially Nature's Claims. As far as cuts, don't need multiple doubling seasons rotting in hand. I don't want to go super low on that, though, as that's our best way to win. Wrath of God and Day of Judgment probably lose a lot of text. This can snag a ritual, but that's about it. I think this is how we're running. We did take match 1. Our mana base is moderately greedy. As I stated earlier, this deck could probably use a non-zero number of Field of Ruins. Lost the word there for a second. This matchup makes it a little hard. Oh, they're on Valakut. Okay. So, it might be mono red Valakut. Makes me a lot less excited to jam basics for Blood Moon, but still want to keep our life total low. Opponent is on slow Valakut. Alright, so we want blue here. Then we're going to use the green to Utopia Sprawl again. No, we can't do that. Flooded Strand. Again, from first game, 18 life is the number that you have to look out for. Used our fetch land so that the Scry from Nissa won't get ruined, and then we can figure out what we're doing later. We can put Jason to play for free next turn. I don't think that's worth drawing a Noble Hierarch. We do have our doubling season. Actually, that is a perfect reason to draw our Noble Hierarch. So, Noble on top, Jace on top. So, next turn going to draw the Noble, run out doubling season, put in to play Jace with Nissa, unless they decide to bolt Nissa. Anger. Alright, that slows us down for a turn. Did I do that backwards? I had to have done that backwards. Okay, so I can run out Jace here. I think I want to get doubling season first. Let's go ahead and scry with Nissa. So Hierarch to the bottom, probably Supreme Verdict to the bottom. Then, yep, we're turned off now, so. Oh, I had to play the Utopia Sprawl. Oh my gosh, I am so bad at this game. Oh well, can still doubling season next turn. So the fact that they are on Valakut means that they are probably running Destructive Revelry. I don't think they like running Nature's Claim, because then it gets their life total out of range of the Valakut. This is blind, but yeah, we can put it into play. We're already below 18. I'm just going to get another basic here and Utopia Sprawl. This one can be white. And then if our opponent doesn't touch Doubling Season, we're going to win the game. I guess they could have another Anger, but if they take their next turn angering, we still should have it. Farseek can go get them another Stomping Grounds or potentially the Cinderglade. Ooh. I really like that Teferi. Okay, so I'm actually going to zero Nissa first. Okay, looked at the card. Look at the top card of your library if it's a land or creature. Oh, that's unfortunate. Alright, so I'm actually okay to wait on Teferi if that means that we're going to be putting another Doubling Season into play next turn. We currently have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So, yeah, let's just jam Jace. And then I'm assuming our opponent's going to actually have to scoop it up here. So if for some reason you missed it the first time, this is infinite, creating infinite Jaces, and then we're going to minus for infinite 2/2s. So our opponent actually might be on Scape Shift next turn, otherwise they should have scooped it up by now. Just making it enough that we have lethal by far, assuming they don't anger. Opponent disconnected. Okay, so we may have just taken the win here. I can actually Teferi this turn too. Alright, well, as long as opponent's away, I'm going to go to token cap, because that seems right. Yes, I am very tone deaf. And yes, you decided to watch this. And seeing as we're already dead by these other things, I'm just going to ult Teferi to say that we did, because that was one of the personal goals for this stream. Cash out Teferi. And, sure. Why not? I'm assuming opponent's going to make us wait out the clock here, so, we'll put it on them. It's very possible they have Scape Shift and can just kill us. They need to find a way to get 2 lands into play first, though, so it's going to be quite unlikely. Apparently, my Jace has crashed opponent's Moto. Alright, so that's significantly better. I thought he was just going to be salty about it in DC. Alright, well, we went infinite Jaces. We went with multiple Tamiyo alts. I'm actually just going to pull it up on this. So, Tamiyo. This one was actually a consideration. You have no maximum hand size and you can recast cards, but all of our cards, for the most part, are permanent, so I ended up not making it. Tamiyo, draw 3 cards. You get an emblem that says you have Omniscience. We cast her with 2 Doubling Seasons out. So she entered with not 4, not 8, but 16 loyalty counters, which means we got to alter twice. It took me a second to realize that. I'm aware of that. But we got to alter twice, draw 3 cards, and get 2 emblems. When we went to go cast, it's like, do you actually want to pay mana for this? Or do you want your free cast token? Or do you want to use your free cast token? So, yeah, that was pretty sweet. Tamiyo did some work. There were moments like against the mono-red living end deck that we were able to draw cards off of both our creatures and theirs. There were times when we could have frosted down our Merfolk opponent's creatures. It is really worth noting that Ensnaring Bridge did all the work in that game, not Tamiyo, but Tamiyo was able to be Ensnaring Bridge 5 and 6 for 2 creatures, especially when our opponent went and cut so many cards for counter magic. Like, I mean, he ended up winning, so I can't critique it that hard, but your game plan is to play 12 Lords and swing in with essentially 12 lorded creatures. Merfolk are supposed to get to the point that they're 6/6s behind a bridge, and our opponent was getting to like 3/3s and 4/4s with no cards in hand because they cut so much for counter magic. They must really not like having their spells countered. But Tamiyo did some work. Jace is fantastic in this shell. Sexy Jace is almost a meme at this point because he doesn't really do a whole lot. People call him Sexy Jace because it looks like he is a cover art for a romance book. It looks like that's what it is. And it almost even fits the story where, like, you lose your memory and you take off your shirt and you go live on a boat. Like, that, it's self-explanatory. But because he comes in with 6, he ends up making 2 tokens, which become 4 tokens, and all those Jaces get to go infinite and do infinite things, and then after they go infinite, you get to make 2/2 tokens, and then if you want to, you can draw your entire deck. There might even be a version of this with Laboratory Maniac if you really want to get the jank on. It's not right, but, I mean, if you're putting Doubling Season in Modern, you're probably just trying to have some fun with it. Going back to the deck tech, it should be worth noted that this is a very expensive deck. It's almost $1,000 in paper. It has Noble Hierarchs, blue fetch lands, Teferi. We don't have Jace, the Mind Sculptor. He would only enter with 6 counters, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to brainstorm with him anyway. Doubling Season does not increase the number of counters put on it when you plus him, only the number that it enters with. So there's some other arguments, like, I know I've been pulling up Scryfall a lot for this video, but you can go type Planeswalker, color blue was what I already had filled in, but type Planeswalker, format modern, if I could type right. Wow, the struggles. All right, so I did look at a Johnny. His emblem is going to win you the game at the beginning of your in-step. Create 3 1/1s. That's going to mean that you end up getting 6 1/1s with lifelink, but he doesn't do enough for our actual game plan. Bringing back a Mana Dork doesn't do anything. It's funny, we can actually gain 100 life off the green one. This Ajani can make one of your Mana Dorks lethal for the most part, or ult one of your Planeswalkers that were already in play. But he doesn't even come in with 9 to ultimate. Like, you can go down the list and there's some interesting options. Red definitely had some of the better ones. Chandra is actually quite good with an ultimate. Kiora actually had some pretty interesting ones. Like, I actually really did like the concept of this one. You ult it and immediately get 3/3 blue, 3/8/8 blue octopuses, which end up becoming 6, and they fight something. It also untaps one of our lands to help us ramp us up to the 5 mana for Doubling Season if she has to come down first. Lets you actually look for cards, creatures, or lands to help you ramp up. There's some options, but none of them were really quite that good. Which is why we ended up with our spread of a lot of the Bant Walkers. Tamiyo being Omniscience on a stick is just fantastic. She even draws you 3 cards. There were times when that felt like a non-bow with the Ensnaring Bridge. But, I mean, it's Doubling Season. I had fun. Went 2-3. That's kind of respectable. It has nobles and fetches and shocks and planeswalkers, and it's going to do a little bit of work. Our board clears are 2 Supreme Verdicts because of the can't be countered clause. That was a little bit of relevant versus Merfolk. We have Wrath of God and Day of Judgment just to spread up our cards to name with Meddling Mage if we play against humans. Again, Field of Ruins probably a consideration for this mana base. Shalai was to give us and our Planeswalkers hexproof. That might actually just be a permanent card. Like, that might need to replace Garruk. I actually did like Nissa. Nissa was good in the grinding matches. I actually might move her up to a 2 of for the control matches. Like, when she came down, she was scrying, and you just plus her once or twice, and then you can start dropping a lot of your planeswalkers in for free. Uh, yeah, not much more to be said. It was fun. And not overly competitive, but you're going to sit down and have a fun time and do very broken things when you go off correctly. And I think that's about it. Well, everyone, thanks for watching.